Hey, it's John Nolan here. One of the most important things in my life is the health and the well-being of my family. And one of the products that we absolutely love to use and have had amazing results with is Z-Stack. It's Dr. Zelenko's Immunobooster, and it really does the job absolutely well. Now, as most of you know, Dr. Zelenko recently passed away, but he's left behind a legacy with Z-Stack and his other products, and also the Dr. Zelenko Freedom Foundation. So every time you purchase Z-Stack to help boost your immune system and the immune system of your family, 10% of the profits will also automatically go to the Freedom Foundation. So I encourage you to check it out, Z-Stack by Dr. Zelenko. Use the link and the coupon code in the description, save, and also help the foundation. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for liking, for subscribing, and even more importantly, for sharing the information. This is so crucial right now. Today, as yesterday and all the days before, we live in a time with an extreme amount of transformative things transpiring on Earth. So it is very hard to keep the eye on a ball and actually see what do we need to look at? What is important? And there's two things that matter most. Number one, are we looking at signals, not noise? It's important. Signal, not noise. It's something that Steve Bannon says all the time. Look at what is really important. What is the signal here? And the second thing is it actionable information? Is it something that empowers you, gives you knowledge that you need, gives you something that you can work with? That's why we very rarely like to talk about some things like special white hat operations in the underground or background that we don't have any firsthand knowledge of. And also, we like to stay away from anything that is called hopium, which is, again, the same principle. It is a lot of noise around things that might happen in the background about a quantum financial system, all these things, and Nasara and Jasara, and all these topics we've been hearing about for, believe it or not, over 20 years now. And they haven't come to fruition, so I won't hold my breath. But I really like to talk about the things that are important, that are inspiring, even though they might be disturbing for the moment. Now, what are we observing right now? What do we need to pay attention to? What will help us actually on this path to true freedom and sovereignty? So interestingly, if you look at what has happened politically, a lot of turmoil and chaos and a lot of changes, right? We just saw the big thing in Sri Lanka, and now apparently there is a president installed that is a World Economic Forum puppet. This is so often, we need to be careful about these revolutions. How do they happen? What is the messaging? When there's a true revolution from the people, inspired by the people going and actually taking away their power, you will never ever see favorable reporting in mainstream media. Mainstream media will call it an insurrection. They will call it anti-government. They will call it criminals. They will call these people the worst things, because real revolution is never ever supported by the media, ever. So what we see there is this, but we also see in other countries, cabinets changing, the Italian government, the British government. What does this mean? Well, sometimes you have to look at it from a tactical standpoint, from this cabal standpoint, that one face has been used too much, has been exposed too much, so it needs to be replaced, and it helps because the people then again need months to realize, is it a good guy or good girl, bad guy, whatever. So these charades aren't really a promising thing. Sometimes it might be, but for the most part, they're not a promising thing. That's just charades. We see this in this country, in the United States. Joe Biden is definitely on his way out. Resident Biden, resident with a capital R. That's all that man ever was. I strongly believe it's not even the Joe Biden that used to be the vice president, and even before that used to be a career politician for 50 years. I believe it's a different guy, but he's on his way out. Mainstream is pushing this agenda. What will happen? How it will happen? Sickness, death, or, he'll resign. We'll see. How do you resign from being a resident anyway? It's interesting. But it's interesting to observe that there's a transformation happening at the same time, promising signal, not noises, in various states in America. Wonderful people are assuming leadership positions on the county level, on the town level, on the state level, in various positions, boards, and it's really, really good to see how true patriots are coming up and true patriots are assuming these positions, because local government is hugely important. It's where we can make the greatest political change. At the same time, it's like we always say, this shouldn't be our only focus, which takes me to the next topic that we need to continue talking about in greater detail. It's the social credit system, and basically not just that, but what is the plan? We need to understand this better and in more depth. If we had talked about this in 2019, if we have had the ability to talk about COVID and what was going to happen over the next 2.5 years, we could have changed the trajectory. We have a new opportunity. The ultimate goal that they're now ushering, that they're wanting to usher in, and they will for a certain amount of people, is this AI-controlled social credit slavery system. Listen, this is what they want. There's no doubt about it. If you think these plans don't exist, if you think these people aren't in powerful position, if you think they haven't positioned themselves for hundreds of years, you're just burying your head in the sand. That won't allow you to make better choices. It won't allow you to thrive. So we need to understand what it is so we can change and alter the course. The social credit system is nothing new. Look to China. Study what China does. The world is always a little behind China when it comes to control mechanisms, but we're now getting up to par. And this system there has been implemented some 8 years ago. You can see how it works. It's much like a financial credit score, only with much greater implications. Because if you don't have credit and you don't get a loan from your bank, you can still be cash happy and still live a life without credit and be just fine and be free. But if you have a social credit system, that literally means that you will only be allowed to do certain things at certain times in certain places, because otherwise you are plugged into the system that is connected to a currency that is programmable to you, which means your particular biometric ID won't allow you to purchase certain items beyond your limitations. We will be classified. There will be classes for people. That's their plan. I'm not saying it's going to happen. That's how they want to play it out, right? They want to have classes for people. And naturally, the vast majority of people will be in restricted classes. You will only be able to use your vehicle for certain things and at certain times until gas would be outlawed anyway. And then electric is so easy to control. And then you won't be able to travel. You won't be able to purchase certain products. You won't be able to express yourself freely on social media or anywhere else because it will be detected and you will immediately be restricted from further movement. This is what's happening already in China, and they want to implement it here. And the way they want to do it is by creating this socioeconomic food system, everything, financial system collapse, a real collapse, much greater than the Great Depression, and then usher in this system basically quickly overnight and say, this is the solution, get on board, or the other consequences, horrific. Now, I know people don't want to hear this, but this has been in the works for so long. You've heard it under New World Order, you've heard it under Great Reset, but people only They look at this as something abstract. You know, they look at the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. They look at the Illuminati symbolism. They look at the, George Bush said it in his speech in 89 and what. But this has been a concrete plan from the get-go. A worldwide centralized AI slave system, putting all the people in there, and people criticize Alex Jones because he's been screaming and yelling, but he's been spot on and ahead of the curve for such a long time. He's been literally prophesizing what their plans are, and he's been warning people for a long time. Do I always agree with everything he says? No, I don't agree with anyone on everything they say, but I do think he was spot on this, and it's so important that we really understand what that would mean, because otherwise we're going to continue to go along with these things. And what is the alternative? The alternative is a free, true, authentic, sovereign system that we create. And it doesn't have to be very complicated. It is a system of natural beings doing natural things, living a natural and an abundant, prosperous, expansive life together in small communities like it used to be. We have had a pinnacle culture. We've had a beautiful society. We've had harmony and peace because it was inspired by true authentic consciousness. That's the alternative. But you need to be clear on one thing. if we don't get this information out, and this information about the social credit system for me isn't as much about who is in what class right now, because there's been talk and we've received information. We're continuing to confirm these pieces of information. We are continuing to communicate with the people that are bringing out this information from the supposed social credit system. What they're saying is that most people have already been classified, and then there's people in the alternative media that are already transferring some of their wealth into this new system. I can't confirm it. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm not saying it is happening. I'm saying I can't confirm it. So I can't really say this is what's happening. There's one aspect to this, is it creates more division, right? But if that's the fact, then we need to look at the facts. And we're trying to confirm this for you all. But more importantly, it's to understand that the vision of the social credit system has been out there for many, many years. Major media outlets have been reporting about it. Financial institutions, politicians have come out in favor of it right here in the United States. They've been doing it for years. They've been admiring China. Politicians openly saying some version of that social credit system should be implemented here. And so this is not a pipe dream. It's not a conspiracy. This is what they want. And the thing is, it's going to go so fast. Everything from this system to metaverse to AI infusion into our systems to nano systems, nanotechnology in our bodies that communicates with a centralized AI computer that will positively influence your brain, your biochemistry, and hence your decision and your inability then to think freely. This is what it's all about. It wants to control our bodies, our minds, our brains, and it wants to use our consciousness and our soul as the energy source of it all. Listen, this is the game, right? This is what they want to do, and they're going to do it unless we stop them, unless we absolutely withdraw our energy, unless we fight the implementation of such a system with everything we have. Absolutely, we need to stand in that, and it's going to be the easiest when we do it in great numbers. If you begin talking about this to your friends, share the information. Don't necessarily go into the unconfirmed facts of it, because that's the least important thing. Show people the articles, the mainstream articles, how mainstream news outlets have been talking about it. Gather this information about the social credit system. Then learn and research how it works in China, and show to your friends and family what this would mean if it were to happen here and in Europe and in other places of the world. And show them that it is it's like a decision that almost cannot be reversed. Everything can be changed, but this would be almost irreversible, so tough to do. And we're literally a few inches away from it. So it's really, really important that we gather ourselves, that we step into our true power. We stop burying our heads in the sand. I'm always saying this. If you see a tornado coming your way, you don't bury your head in the sand. You take action. You do something. Either you move in a different place that is safer for you. If what you feel inspired to do is just sit there and meditate, that's fine too. I'm not saying don't do it, but take inspired action. And most importantly, this should be our MO anyways. We shouldn't be depending on these systems that are out of our hands. We've been talking about this. It is time to take back the power and take it back to where it really belongs. We've just given this power to groups of people that have nefarious objectives and that literally in the most literal sense of the word want to enslave us. They've been doing it gradually. Now they're going for their final push. And every new agenda that's going to roll out in the next days and weeks, you're going to see it. Climate agenda, it's going to get bigger and bigger, right? Then another maybe sickness agenda, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Financial collapse, it's going to get bigger and bigger. It's all aiming at this one specific place. It's one end that they want. And that's what they're throwing all their power to it. They're uniting, whether they're enemies or friends now, they're all uniting around this subject. They believe they can push it through. They believe they can push us like cattle. They believe if they push hard enough in this final push, because we're tired, because we're exhausted, because we're hot or cold, and all these uncomfortable things, that they can now push it through. Now we need to show them that we are just getting started. Our empowerment journey has just begun, and our awakening of our true consciousness has just really started. And when we do awaken, and this is so important, when you do awaken, you're powerful beyond your current imagination. Never ever will you be able to be controlled, and you need to make a decision right now. Everyone needs to make it. What is the hill you're willing to die on? And there's two ways of dying, right? There's the virtual death, the death of your old ego, the death of your old beliefs, the death of the old ways of looking at things, where you are dependent, where you try to play ball, where you try to get along. That's the death of the ego. Are you willing? What's the hill that you're willing to let your ego die on? And then there's the real life, authentic, physical death, which means I'm willing to draw this line in the sand here. I'm never going to cross it. I'm never going to betray my principles, my morals, and my standards. I'm never going to betray my creator by going along with something that is slavery and that is so anti-human. So you have to decide what that is for you. I've made that decision a long time ago. I know where my line in the sand is, and I have no fear whatsoever. So for those who are watching, for those dark forces, for those cabals, for you tiny beings who you are, I'm sorry. You don't have what we have. You don't have the spirit. Well, bring it on. There's no fear here. Bring it on. My brothers, my sisters, all of us, this great family, we have something you will never have. We have true spirit. We have the creator on our side, and we have conviction and love, authenticity, consciousness, freedom, sovereignty, power. We have it within us. You don't stand a chance. So I'm asking you, my brothers and sisters, to really stand in your power, stand in your truth, and take the necessary steps right now. Take the action that you need to take. Make sure you are in a place where you can stand in your power. Make sure you have what you need, your family has. Find a way. Withdraw your energy and communicate with each other. Build groups, not groups to go into battle, but groups to create the new, the beautiful, the wonderful. We always share some links in the video description, like Food Forest Abundance, Jim Gale and his team, amazing freedom fighters out there giving people freedom seats, literal freedom seats. Check it out, become a part of it and do it today. Do it right now. Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be with you again very, very soon with more information, more details. We love you. We appreciate you. And stay inspired and take inspired action.